with you. First of all, sir, that was not sparring we were doing in the ring.
Of course it was. That's the way we do it up here.
Hey, I heard you doing an interview not long ago, and you were talking about you went to a boxing camp, and you said they were not sparring, they were fighting every day.
I remember it. Yeah, absolutely. I remember I had to fight for my life.
Well, thank you very much. That's the way I felt when I went and trained with you. I was fighting for my life every single day. I have never been in a situation where somebody is trying to beat the living crap out of you every single day.
But I like you. Imagine if I didn't like you.
I know. First of all, I want to get that off my chest, Johnny. Hey, man, I'm having issues. Because when I went there, I was like, okay, hey, no big deal. You know, I'm going to go there. I was like a top 10 contender in the world at the time. I'm just going to go there and spar this guy, you know, just like I spar everybody else. It was not like I sparred everybody else. Johnny, first of all, you hit like a mule. I just want to say that to you. Right? You were the hardest hitting human being I have ever seen in my life. And guess what? 61 other people agree.
I remember we got a call from, I think it was Joe Corley and some of the people in the know back there. And I asked them about, you know, the best possible sparring partners, because I was fighting some really, really good fighters, Rod Batiste and Mac Caruso and Kerry Roop, Don Wilson, a lot of top fighters, and we needed some really good sparring partners. And when I spoke to Joe, he said we have a guy in Atlanta that in Georgia that can probably help you, and indeed we did.
Wow. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that came from Joe. Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah.
But of course, while I was there, a couple of things happened. Okay. The first time I trained with you twice. I want to get this out of the way, guys. All the people who will be watching this video, I want to get this out of the way first. So the first time I trained with you, I mean, you beat me from pillar to post. And then I was like, every day I was walking to the gym, and I was walking back to the hotel, and I was like, oh my God, I've never seen, this guy is he's crazy. He just hits way too hard. He just hits way too hard. This is not even fun. But then while I was there you told me some things the first time, but you didn't really know me. But the second time you invited me, I did a little bit better. I was a little bit stronger the second time, right? Because you taught me a lot of tricks. But here's what I have been trying to figure out. And this is all relevant to the interview. After we trained, and I had my good moments every now and then, but you were beating the crap out of me still. Let's be clear on that, right? You invited me to dinner. And your wife told me that he never invites training partners to his home to eat. So based on what's happened to me in all these years now, why did you invite me?
No, actually, I enjoyed your company, of course. You know, oftentimes these sparring partner sessions is just that. It's just business, and the guys have things to do at night and whatever. I talked to my then wife and told him that I'd like to invite John to come and have dinner with us, and of course you accepted gracefully. And it's not something that I often do. I did it a couple of other times, but I'm selective. I have the right to select and choose whoever I want as company for dinner. And there's a couple, you know, and some of the discussions that we had as well, some of the talks that we had in the gym affected me and influenced some areas in my life, and for that I'm grateful.
Wow. Well, this is the whole point of this right now, is that night you invited me to dinner. You changed my life. You changed my life on that one invitation. And this is why I've been trying to I don't know why I was one of the people that were chosen, other than, we were getting along pretty good. But that night, you told me a couple things. You told me, one, that you taught me how to get power in my punches. And I have never, ever, ever, ever forgotten it. I've trained that way. And you also taught me how to train like a professional. But you also told me that I could beat the current champion, Alvin Crowder, right then and there. And
I
I was
knew it.
like, oh my God.
I believed it.
Well, I didn't. I didn't believe it. But after you told me that, I went back, and a few months later, I got the phone call. And I don't know what it was, but I did win. I won the fight. But I just want to thank you, sir, before we even get to this interview, for giving me the confidence and literally changing the course of my life, because you taught me how to hit hard. You taught me how to knock people out, right? You taught me how to train like a professional. You taught me how to, just the attitude I needed to have in the gym. You taught me that. And you how to take it like a job, how to take it like a business. And I know you haven't said much yet, because I wanted to get this off my chest to say that you changed my life. And I really believe, other than my manager working hard and my discipline, that those things that you gave me was the reason I became a two-time world champion. So thank you, sir.
Well, geez, that touches me. Thank you.
Right. Well, I just wanted you to know that. But listen, let's get right into it. You were one of the hardest punching people ever, as I said. Tell me, how did you get that kind of power in your hands? You know, look, you're not like a big bodybuilder or anything like that. So where did it come from?
I'm a skinny little guy, as you well know, 170 pounds. I sort of studied biomechanics to understand where the things would come. But I'll tell you honestly, there's a component here that may not resonate with a lot of people. Is that it was predestined. It was a gift that I got to understand how to go about my business. I focused a lot on what I did. I wanted to be good at it. I wanted to be a great athlete, and the vehicle that permitted me to be a good athlete was kickboxing. Now I studied the mechanical movements of these things, maybe as an influenced by the great Bill Wallace. He's a professor in kinesiology, as we all know. I did study some sports psychology, because there's a lot of very good guys out there that were aware of psychological warfare before and during a fight, and those are things that the awareness that what I needed to do. I read some psychology books about how to prepare properly, and what is the price that you're ready to pay for what you want. How important is this thing? And at the time, it wasn't very important for me. It was important for a couple of different reasons. I wanted to afford my family a good living. That was important for me. I wanted to be the athlete that I announced myself to be. I'm a professional athlete. I'm not a part-time athlete. I'm a professional athlete, full-time athlete. And I want to validate that fact. And so I studied my craft. I recruited a lot of people around me, nutritionists, sports psychologists, a whole lot of very professional people. And as a result of fighting some amazingly great fighters, I'm telling you, Rod Batiste comes to mind. What an amazing guy. I fought him twice. And I learned a ton of stuff during those fights and after those fights. Wilson as well, Kamen, Hoost, a lot of great fighters. And as a result of those encounters, just makes me not only a fighter that wants to pursue the sport, but it just made me a better man. It really did make me a better man by meeting some really very good men. Kerry Roop comes to mind as well. Somebody that I really respect. He's a great, great family man, and I was blessed, man. I was a lot of very good around me.
You did have a lot of people around you, and I certainly, would like to kind of go into that a little bit. That reminds me when you talk about somebody being around you. One of the things when I was training with you, one of the biggest quotes that I took through my life, and I still practice it every day. When I went back home, I had a jump rope board that I wrote on this board, there is no substitute for hard work. Now,
Good
there
for
was
you.
a person in your gym who told me that. And I want to know, his name was Gil, I believe.
Guy, my trainer.
Guy, okay, Guy. Where is he today?
Guy Mallet, God bless him, he passed away 18, 20 years ago.
Oh,
He
oh,
he is a man that influenced me immensely. The guy was a street philosopher, if you wish. He wasn't about long discourse. He wasn't about fancy wars or anything like that. But the things that he did tell me resonated deeply. I think about him often. I'm grateful, as you well know, John. Johnny, something that you made me aware of is the power of God, and I'm very much aware that Guy was part of my life through the intervention of God, if you want.
yeah,
He was given to me for a reason, and he came into my life for a reason, as do everybody in my life, of course. And he gave me some lessons. I'll tell you what. I mean, there's no price to what he taught me, and one of them was there's no substitute for hard work.
right,
Yeah. He also said, the champion or the winner will do with what the loser doesn't want to do. The winner will do what the others don't want to do. Hard work, do it consistently, do it every day, explore, look, study, do what you have to do. There's a lot of people that will not want to do it. But if you want to be champion, there's a price to pay, young man, and if you're ready to pay. And he was always there at my side. Um, one of the things that really impressed me about him is he was retired as an athlete. He was retired,
right.
um, but he trained with me every day.
Wow.
He didn't have to train. He put on the gloves every day. He did some bag work every day. His skipping rope. He did it every day. And in my mind, I said, if this guy is ready to do this every day for me, I'm going to give him 100% of what I have. He gave. He was a big influence in my life. Mr. Theriault, as well, as you well know, my manager, John Theriault.
Right. I
Uh,
want I want to ask you about John. Where's John these days?
John, well, we evidently he retired from martial arts as a school owner,
Mm-hmm.
but he's still involved. He's still involved in martial arts. Him and I do business together. We promote kickboxing events. We
Mm-hmm.
promote training camps as well. We do a couple of charitable events over the course of the year, and we meet when he lived about a block away from me, and we would sometimes, for 20 something years, I saw him every day.
Wow.
And he lived a block away from me, and sometimes I didn't see him for a week and a half or two, which was
Oh,
kind of weird.
wow.
Yeah. But with the advent of the iPhones and stuff like that, we say hi every day, and yeah, he continues to be an amazingly important influence in my life. He's retired, um, but he's still involved in martial arts. He's got a big influence around the world. In fact, we have a federation, World Kabuto Federation, that we
Mhm.
travel around the world. We had a world convention this past year in Athens. Next year, it's in Vienna, Austria. We travel around the world and just try to spread the sunshine.
Right, right. Well, you guys have done a great job. I do remember John. Some of the shows he put on there were just fantastic. I mean, just
Absolutely.
some huge, huge shows. What is the biggest crowd that you've ever fought in front of, John?
Probably 15,000.
Wow.
Just a lot of people. In fact, it was in Atlanta.
Right.
And from there, 7, 8, 10,000, and they were fine. And sometimes I would go in there. I remember fighting in Atlanta a couple of times, and I fought Bob Thurman, Bob Thunder Thurman, great middleweight champion as well.
Right.
And I got into the arena, and there was 14, 15,000,
Yeah.
and there may have been half a dozen Canadians.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
obviously, when Bob stepped into the ring, there was a big roar, and people were very respectful of me as well. And
I was probably the only one cheering for you. I mean, I confess because Bob Thurman, I wanted to fight him forever. And you told me that I could probably take him at some point too. But I never got the opportunity, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a promoter today. To be honest with you, Johnny, because I try to give fighters opportunities that we missed, back in those days and everything. And so it really changed things. Tell me, in the sport though, you have an interesting philosophy about money, right? I've heard you talk about money and how it is a factor, but maybe not the biggest factor. Tell us a little bit about that philosophy.
Well, when I first started fighting, I understood that there's my market value will go up or down based on my performance. I also understood that I needed to have somebody on my team that would talk money, that understood money. And so I never really I never fought for money, only because I knew that my manager would take care of it and meet my needs relative to the quality of my life and my children's life and stuff like that. So I always believe that I do the right work, and I work honorably, and I give everything that I have. The money will come to me, and I was lucky enough to experience that.
Based on the kind of money that you made back in the day, I mean, I think your biggest purse was like 150,000 or something like that, which is a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Absolutely, it's a lot of money.
But in comparison to today, when you got MMA guys making hundreds of thousands of dollars and boxers making millions, how do you feel about that?
Well, listen, mine was, I'm a cog in the wheel of the evolution of martial arts. Back then, that's what it was. It worked out fine. I'm not envious at all. I'm very, very happy. A friend of mine, George St. Pierre, is making a ton of money. He did make a ton of money. He understood, and I'm happy for that. And when the ability to make money comes around, well, make it, because the business can stop for you on a blink of an eye. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. You get a thumb in the eye,
right?
Your career is over. So take as much as you can in your productive years, and listen. Once you've acquired some money, remember it's not an infinite source. You have to do something good with it, because when you stop fighting, if you don't have a pension plan or anything like that, well, you're screwed. So fighting from one fight to the next and from one paycheck to the next, I don't think that's the right thing to do. But listen, people are the way they are, and although when you make a couple of $1 million, different story there.
Right. Well, I will tell you that there's money out there to be made, but and we know that fighters are motivated by money. Even if you were not so motivated by money, most of us are or were motivated by money. What do you think it's going to take for us to get money back into the sport of Muay Thai and kickboxing?
Well,
back in, or should I say in?
Yeah. Well, listen. I mean, there was a void in martial arts when some of the top fighters retired, and that void was filled by some very ambitious promoters, namely the UFC. I think their time was coming up, and when the void was sort of being felt with the kickboxing, or the traditional kickboxing that we know, they just filled the void. And fighters are fighters. I mean, fighters will fight, and if there's not a really good promoter, we do some promotion as well as you do promotions, and we take care of amateurs here. We make sure that they're well on their way. We're
Right.
doing a promotion, in fact, in about a month from now. We have a federation that is will insure fighters. We have insurance. We have doctors. We have security people. We have something, and it's recognized by the government. So there are safety issues that are implemented that make the journey of an amateur, make it safe, and he or she may understand that there are people there that can help you and will help you and should help you. Like I say, fighters are fighters and they want to fight. But sometimes we have to protect fighters from themselves. We are just, I'm going to take a fight. I'm going to take a fight, and that's not the right fight for you to take, or it's not the right time, or it's not the right money, if it's not the right crowd, or whatever. And there has to be management, proper management, and ultimately there needs to be corporate involvement. Simple as that. Corporate involvement where they see that this is a very exciting sport. And if they see the value of the sport itself, good quality fighters, there's no reason why it shouldn't be mainstream sport. Having said that, we compete against BJJ, we compete against MMA, we compete against Thai boxing, about all the combat sports. It's a crazy world out there. There's a lot of combat sports, a lot of promoters.
Right.
And those are our competition. We vie for the same dollar. We vie for the same fight fans. And so, I proposed something many years ago to the government, or the federation that I deal with, and that is to put together an association of promoters so that we can work together. As you well know, martial arts is quite a fragmented sport, and a lot of people just don't want to work with others, unfortunately. Right. And that's one of the things I think that's holding the development of the industry is, people not ready to work with others and sort of share. And all that proposal that I did many years ago fell on deaf ears, and people said, "No, I'm going to take care of myself. You take care of yourself." And so,
Right.
It just puts a bit of a brake on the development of the industry itself. It's an amazingly productive and powerful and healthy industry.
Right.
But we need the right people to push it forward.
We got to get the right people in it, and that's one of the things that of course, I'm pushing for over here in the United States, and I know you guys are working really hard on it over there. You had a lot of ups and maybe some downs.
Of course.
But what is the biggest takeaway from the sport in a positive light that you've had?
Well, this is something that I live with every day, and I have to, in order for me to recognize my worth. I am not a fighter, but I fight for a living. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a friend, I'm a teacher, and even when I was active, I strongly believe this: my best is yet to come. My best is yet to come, and that way, every time I get up in the morning, I'm really very happy to, first of all, get out of bed without struggling too much.
Right. Well, speaking of that, do you have a lot of bruises and things that hinder you today at your tender age of 64? I gave it away right here live. You look great.
I got you beat by a few years, I guarantee.
Yeah, just a few years. Yeah. Hey, again, you were like the big brother beating up on me in the gym there, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? It happened to me as well. I remember fighting a lightweight, Gaetan Hard's a boxer.
Right.
And I thought there were two of them. I thought there were two of them on me. He was hitting me so many times. But again, I mean, those were learning experiences that I'm superbly grateful for. But yeah, and I have a bad knee. It goes wonky on me once in a while. I lost my hair, but I don't really care. I
You
don't need
lost
it anymore.
you
My
lost your what?
hair,
You
my
lost
hair. I lost my hair.
you lost your air.
I don't need it anymore, so I gave it away.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! That is crazy. That's crazy. But you know, when there's a lot of things that I think that fighters have to endure after you leave the ring, the fanfare, and you know, people coming up to you asking for autographs, and you know, when you walk into a room, the room gets louder because of your presence.
Right. Right.
How do you handle the silence?
Well, listen, I'm very very grateful that I did have a career where people were amused by or entertained by. People are very respectful anytime that and you know it still happens. Anytime that I go into a room or I go into a restaurant, there's a couple. You know, there's always some eyes following me. I like to think that it's me, but I'm sure that it's about my wife because she's a very beautiful woman.
Hey, well, they better not mess with her, though. I mean, that's all they can do is look. Boy, that would be in for a really, really bad surprise there, wouldn't it?
And so you know what? I never really, honestly, never really enjoyed or looked for fame. Something that comes with the job, something that you have to learn to accept. And I realized one thing, maybe halfway through my championship years, I realized one thing is that I had the attention of the public, and it was important for me. Not only was it important for me, but it was a responsibility of mine to use that as a means to contribute to the people that were cheering for me, my community. I was honorary president of a couple of foundations and fundraising activities and stuff like that. And I met some extremely courageous people that were either sort of condemned through illness and so on and so forth, and just changed my whole perception of who I was or my own reality, really. Um, you know, ours is an industry of entertainment, and that's what I do. I entertain people, and it's great that people are entertained by what we do. And you know, we have characters and we have personalities across the whole spectrum. You know, some good guys, some bad guys, some great fighters, not so great fighters. Everybody's an entertainer, and but that's all we are, really. We're just entertainers. And when you meet somebody who a parent, for example, who is facing the death of a child through maybe leukemia or some sort of illness, you certainly understand what the word courage means, and focus and commitment and love. It's a you know it's a mind changing, all mind altering experience to meet some of these guys. And I was lucky enough. I'll tell you what, I was lucky enough to meet a lot of people through my contribution to you know, fundraising and community events, and that probably permitted me to stay another 5 or 6 or 8 years. Because at one point I became a little bit complacent about, you know, with training, winning, making money, getting a lot of attention, stuff like that. But at one point I came to a point where I sort of looked up and I said, "There's got to be something else here." And he put me in the right path, and for that I'll tell you, man.
So you think that basically by working with others, by giving other guys, helping them pursue and achieve their dreams is somehow the biggest takeaway, that you've had all these, you know, great accolades and these things that you've acquired over the years that now you can give it back?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you know, fame is fleeting. Fame is superficial. what you learn from it, what you take from it. At least for me, I can't talk for anybody else. I'm, I'll give you an example. Golden Boy, Jerry Trimble, he's turned himself into a pretty good speaker and motivator. He's an actor, of course, a successful actor. But I follow him on Facebook, and he does motivational speaking, and he certainly understood. And I can guarantee you that if we were to speak, I could guarantee that he learned more about himself and about life through his sport, rather than the fleeting fame. It's like I say, it's very temporary. What you do with it, you'll get a much more satisfying life. The definition of success changes
Right.
once you've tasted what others look at being a successful career. That's great, but once you require it and you remove yourself from it and you learn from it, your definition of success changes entirely.
What I'm kind of getting amazed with here, I always knew you were a sharp guy, but I really didn't know how articulate you were, right? And the philosophy, you just so much intelligence there. Do you think that helped you out in the ring? The fact that you are so analytical, that helped you out with the way you fought? Because the way you fought in the ring was so intense, and it seemed like you had a psychological edge on so many of the fighters that you went in the ring with. Were you a student of just learning?
I love learning.
Serious?
Absolutely. This is one of the biggest pleasures that I have. Is I love reading. I love reading about things that I have no knowledge of. I love learning. And when I was fighting, of course, I wanted to learn about my sport. I wanted to learn not only about the sport, but about the human experience. Because we are human beings, and we probably react to stimulus differently. And when you understand that, I mean, I can tell you honestly now, after having been retired for 25 years, it's easy for me to say that I may have beaten 20 or 25 guys 2 or 3 weeks before I even fought. Only because of psychological knowledge, or not knowledge, but awareness. I understood that if there's something in the papers and there was a reaction from my opponent, I would play on that, or we would do a TV show together, and I was nice for the TV show, but afterwards I wasn't. and so get my opponents a little bit confused about who I was. They don't pay attention to the fight anymore. Yeah, I learned a lot of that through the great Wilson, Don, who's a friend of mine. And I really
have Don on the show. I have Don on the show as well.
Yeah, I admire him, and that's the lesson that I took away from our fight together, is that the psychological warfare is real, and you can beat a lot of fighters beforehand if you know how to do it right.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Something I did not know? I did not know that you were a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Indeed, but I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, but you got a black belt.
But I do have a black belt. In fact, I'm going to a training. We have an organization here. We have 6 or 7 schools, and all the instructors are meeting tomorrow. So I'm putting my gi on tomorrow and doing some jiu-jitsu.
Well, I just never knew that. I never knew that at all. So let me ask you a question. So you have the boxing. We know, Lord have mercy, can you hit like a mule? I'll say that again. You have the kicks. And by the way, your kicking was a lot more diverse than people might know. It wasn't just front kicks and round kicks. You did jump spinning back kicks. You did hook kicks. It didn't look like it that you had like me and like Rick Rufus, people like that. We were kind of flamboyantly kicking, if you will. But you were doing effective kicking. So when you kicked, every kick you did had a purpose for it. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Every single one. But
Yeah.
with the climate today of MMA, how do you think you would fare in an MMA world today? If you were
Well,
like 30 years younger.
yeah, that's a difficult one to answer because of my background. I became very comfortable standing up. I do some groundwork, and I get a little a little anxious, a little nervous because some of the people that I work with are really very good,
Right.
and so what I think may have gotten me to a level of success in the world of MMA is the focus that I bring to my training, and the determination that I have. Whether I would have been skillful enough or not, I'm not sure on that. But the focus that I bring and the determination that I bring in my workout uh, probably could be a successful athlete in a lot of sports, really.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Somebody brought up the thing about leg kicks. Oh, well, he wasn't doing leg kicks and stuff like that. I don't care. If you were doing leg kicks, the way you
Yeah,
were, the way you trained, it would have been hardly no different. You'd have trained to how to check a kick, and you'd have been taking people's legs out. You'd have been, you would have been as effective, I believe, as a world champion with leg kicks or without. And people don't understand, but I think that the fact that you had the understanding of the combinations of how the feet
right.
and the hands work together, that was the key. And that the being in the right position and your body, the way your body was positioned all the time
Yeah.
was amazing. I don't think enough fighters look at that, a body positioning. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Well, you're right. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to neutralize an opponent's attack. I mean, if I change my angle, even if I'm standing in front of you, I go 2 inches or 3 inches off to the side, and you'll have to reposition yourself.
Right.
And when that happens, I'm setting you up. And so I didn't have a whole lot of movement, as you well know, but I didn't need to. I was very conscious of you know energy expenditure. If I use too much energy, I may not be able to last effectively for the 12th round. And so I stayed close. I stayed in the pocket, and when I was within striking range, I fought. I fired whatever I thought was going to hit the target. Um, yeah, a lot of times, maybe in kickboxing, maybe in boxing, I'm not too sure. In MMA, maybe sometimes the fighters move around way too much, and I don't know that it's strategic. I think that it's maybe for lack of commitment.
Right.
Uh, when you commit yourself to enter into the strike zones, you have to know where you're going.
Right.
And sometimes, if you have some doubts, obviously, as a fighter, me personally, if I see some doubts, I'll recognize those, and I'm going, I'm going after you.
I have so many questions for you, and we lost Victor. Victor is traveling to a fight today, so he's on the road. So the internet is a little bit sketchy, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the interview with you. I'm just talking to you today because it's so much fun. I'm not going to keep it too much longer, though. But I do want to ask you about that mentality and where that comes from, because as you said, when you see that you were like a lion and you saw this weak gazelle and you would attack it with velocity. I mean, it was just crazy. Where did that come from? What was it? Something in your childhood that made you so vicious in the ring?
Well, if we want to speak to the childhood, I was a product of foster homes. My father died. I was a young man.
Oh,
I was in foster homes for 6 7 years, as were
oh,
all my brothers. We're six boys, and all my brothers were in foster homes as well. Sometimes we were together, sometimes we were alone.
wow,
And one of the things, and I'll tell you honestly, that probably helped me understand that I came into this world alone, and I will leave this world alone. And in between coming and going, I will meet some extraordinary people.
wow.
I was blessed to be born into a family of, even though my father died when I was a kid, the best thing that my father ever did was marry my mother.
Ah,
And my brothers are absolutely amazing men. Very sort of nondescript, except Vic, because he's a loudmouth. But
We like Vic. I'm
you
sorry
gotta
we
love
didn't
him.
get a chance to talk to him right now, but hopefully we'll talk. I'll bring him on for another separate show to talk about to talk with him. But you talk about your mother,
Yeah.
and her being basically a single parent,
Yes, sir.
raising
And
several
she
boys.
and we were in foster homes for a number of years, only because she found the importance of having an education. She went to university, and when she finished her studies, she would go to work. And she didn't have, and it was not a choice of her to put us into foster homes.
Right.
The state took us, and they put us in foster because she was killing herself.
Wow.
So they put us in foster homes for a number of years, and 1967 we were all reunited, which is kind of a strange occurrence, because you look
Yeah.
at somebody that's supposed to be your brother, but I don't know you.
Wow.
And so it was a discovery. All of us were teenagers when we came back to her, and so the raging hormones kind of thing, the cockfights, and the positioning and stuff like that. That happened when we were kids. We sort of, I don't want to say fought, too violently, but we certainly argued and fought, of course. And until everyone started doing martial arts, and we realized it, and sort of a collective realization: if we continue fighting with each other, somebody's going to get hurt.
Right.
So we weren't fighting anymore against amongst ourselves, but we certainly fought against others. And so that it was a great. In some people's minds, say, well, poor kid, he was foster homes and stuff. Let me tell you, folks, this when you're a child and you eat a couple of times a day and you have a roof under your head, and way more than a ton of people in these countries have. As a kid, you're grateful.
Right.
Probably in the later years, you realize, what, father and son days didn't exist for me. Those are, the emotional side that you may have missed out on, is real. Um, and so there's some work to be done there, of course, and that certainly helped me to become a better father, of the understanding of my emotional sort of connection, to family. And like I say, my brothers, I admire them for what they do, for who they are. My mom's still my first and only real hero. She's 91 next week.
Whoa,
Yeah,
91.
yeah. She's very lucid. She's a great conversationalist. She's in a retirement home, and she goes down and dances with everybody and sings, and she's just an amazing woman. Yeah.
Wow, we want to say happy early Mother's Day to her.
Thank you.
Obviously, a remarkable woman who raised some remarkable men.
Absolutely.
And look, I'm personally thankful for her myself. Tell us a little bit about the club that you were doing, that you're teaching at over there. Are you in Ottawa?
I'm in Ottawa, still in Ottawa. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
tell us a little bit about your club.
yeah, we have our main sport is obviously kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and I also have a strength and conditioning coach, Greg Pollock of Gladiator. He has every year he has a kid of his that will be recruited by either the CFL Football League or the NHL National Hockey League. He's a very,
Wow.
very good coach, and a little bit low key, but he gets the job done. So we have a lot of very good kids here as well. I have a large population of Middle Eastern people, which is great because I learned their culture. We have a good cross section of people, some from doctors to lawyers to clean street cleaners to anybody and everybody. And when they're on the floor, everybody's equal, and that's sort of the mentality that I like to have, is when you're on the floor, you're equal to the next guy. And so everybody is very, very helpful. We have a good number of people here, and I'm really happy to come back to this place every day, and my best years are yet ahead of me. And every time I step in here, I'm always looking forward to seeing those guys because they bring something to me.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's real passion, man. Well, they must feel great. If they don't know, let me tell you, students, you guys should every day thank your lucky stars that you have someone like Jean-Yves Theriault to train you
Thank you.
every single day. Speaking of that, do you do seminars? Are you available to go out and do
Absolutely.
seminars and things like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I do seminars. I travel. I do seminars. Um, I speak to business people. I do private classes as well. I have a lot of fun there. I have a couple of people that